Charter Local Edition with your host, John MacDonald.
Hello, we are visiting today with Ed Meece, who is the city manager of Livingston, Montana.
Nice to be here. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's a great opportunity.
Thank you for taking some time. So I wanted to visit with you a little bit. I know Livingston has a relatively unique infrastructure replacement program going on. Tell us a little bit about what that is and what you're trying to accomplish.
I think it is very unique, just for our state, but also across the country. For a city our size, we're very aggressive with infrastructure replacement, water, sewer, streets, all of those things, and yet we're able to do that almost every year without incurring any debt. We've built our infrastructure replacement integrated into our budget over a 10-year plan, and that we feel like that's the best way to serve our community, to stay debt-free, be fiscally responsible, and yet continue to upgrade it. So it takes a lot from our citizens and our ratepayers, and we have to be a little aggressive with that component of it sometimes. But overall, I think it's going to really benefit our community in the long run.
You say being aggressive, but the program you have really does not focus on bonding. So how do you talk a little bit about the aggressive nature of what you do?
Well, again, I think what it requires us to do is take very careful look at what our rates and our costs are going to have to be before we get to the year that we're going to do those projects. And so we're taking a look at what those rates need to be a year or two in advance. And then we also have to be careful, because once we get through a big project, we don't want to have excess. We don't want to take more than we need for the years following that. So it requires a lot of financial interpretation, but it also requires being a little more aggressive with our rate structures and not just kind of responding to the economy, but really kind of looking forward and understanding what we think is going to happen.
And how far out do you plan? Obviously, there's a lot of forecasting and a lot of predicting that goes on in this. How far out are you looking?
Well, our plan is a rolling 10-year plan, but our financial projections are 5 years. So we have a good idea of what's coming, but we're trying to keep it as close as we can with our predictions, so that. And then every year we update that. We update the plan every year before we go into the budget process, and that usually happens in January.
And give us an example of one of the recent projects that you've completed.
Sure. Well, a year ago we did a $1.1 million water line replacement from our 2 reservoir tanks at the top of the hill in Livingston all the way down to our 100 block of Main Street, and then through our 100 block of Main Street. So that was probably one of the biggest projects we've taken on in a long time. Right now we're planning for a $12 million project, rehab of our wastewater treatment plant. That one will require some bonding because it's just so large. We couldn't do that on cash alone.
But the water line replacement project you were able to do without any bonding?
Correct. We did that totally with cash reserves from those utilities.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about another program that's kind of tied with that, is your downtown Streetscape program. Tell folks what that is.
That's a very exciting piece of this infrastructure replacement. So we've just now in the last 2 years moved into our downtown with our infrastructure replacement, and we're able to implement what we call our downtown Streetscape. That's the result of years of study and charrettes and other types of community participation, where basically our folks have said, this is what we want our new downtown to look like. So we have this exciting, vibrant, historic downtown. We want to keep that character, but we also want to have some new aspects to it. So there's going to be like a small entertainment district where we can easily close down the streets, and we have some portals that are going to be built. But we're also going to rework the intersections to kind of reflect that historical character of Livingston, new street furniture and street lights, and all of that's a result of the community collaborating over the period of many years and producing this design, we call it our Streetscape, that we will incorporate as we come through with the infrastructure projects.
It seems that process itself would be difficult, getting a community, and Livingston's not, a giant city, but getting a community to agree on how they want a particular part of their town to look. That's got to be quite a task in itself.
It is quite a task, and I think the greatest asset we had in that task is the fact that we just have a lot of folks who are very interested in getting involved in those kinds of issues, from downtown business owners to citizens, property owners, and they, again, there's an intention to preserve what we have, but to make it better, and the community really has kept that as prime focus as we put this stuff together.
And that's kind of an integral part of your planning process, your 10-year revolving plan as well?
Absolutely. In fact, as we bid any project in the downtown, all of those elements are part of that same bid. So we know when we're done, we know exactly what it's going to look like when we're done, not just that there's going to be new water or sewer lines.
Right. I know another issue that's important to Livingston too is this idea of the urban forest, and I think that you recently hosted a group of folks that were very interested in what Livingston has done with the urban forest. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. We were blessed in the opportunity to this year host the Northern Rocky Mountain Tree School. We had folks there from 5 or 6 states in the Northern Rockies region, and they were there specifically for 2.5 days to learn about the modern methods for maintaining and caring for an urban forest. And we use that phrase a lot, urban forest, because that kind of a tree population has a different need than what you might find out in the wilderness and on the mountains. And there's different issues with sidewalks and just the total environment that they exist in. We have taken on a really, I think, a fresh perspective in Livingston over the past 5 years of enhancing our urban forest and paying a lot of attention to it, professionalized our staff methods, increased our budget. And so this was a great opportunity for us. Last year, we were the Tree City for Montana, and we were able to host Governor Bullock on Arbor Day and had a big celebration. And trees are very important to Livingston, to our culture, to our community. Obviously, it's a big thing in Montana. It's part of our open spaces. So we were very blessed to have the tree school, and we look forward to how we're going to help other Montana cities incorporate these ideas into their urban forest.
Great. Talk a little bit too, just personally. How long have you been the city manager in Livingston?
I've been the city manager in Livingston since March of 2006. My family, we came out here from Kentucky and have just really enjoyed the opportunity to live in Montana.
And tell me a little bit, just looking down the future for all communities in Montana. You're at obviously this is the League of Cities and Towns meeting here. What do you see as a couple of the most pressing, or maybe the most pressing issue that cities and towns are going to face in the next couple of years?
Well, I think one of the issues that we have to work on rather aggressively as municipalities is just our ability to get even stronger in how we work together. Most of the issues that we face, there may be cultural or community spins, but you fix a pothole in Livingston the same way you fix a pothole in Missoula. And so we all have to learn from what we can do better, from what we see in other communities, and we've got to learn how to bond together even closer. Right now, for instance, most of the cities in Montana cooperate in the MMIA, our insurance pools. So we need to look for more ways to leverage our resources to the greatest benefit of our citizens and create a stronger voice for our citizens. I think that's one of those issues. Cost containment is obviously something that we have to be able to do, but service delivery, obviously nationally, law enforcement is a big issue right now. And I know I was in a meeting just yesterday between the city managers and the police chiefs across Montana, and how do we deal with a lot of these cultural issues that are filtering to Montana from other issues that have happened across the state. So the country.
Meetings like this are, I'm sure, a great opportunity to discuss those.
They are, and they're one of our only opportunities because our communities are spread out so much across such a large piece of land.
Right. Ed, I appreciate your time today. We have been visiting with Ed Meece, the city manager in Livingston, Montana. Ed, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a great opportunity.
Charter Local Edition has been an exclusive presentation of Charter Communications, providing original programming.